I will never forget the sound of that door slamming shut. Not the screech of tires that hit me, not the crack of my legs snapping against the frozen pavement, but that door. That heavy oak door of my childhood home closing in my face as I lay bleeding in the snow, my mother's diamond-studded fingers pushing it shut while I begged for help. That sound still echoes in my nightmares. But before I tell you how I made them pay for what they did, before I show you how karma came for the people who were supposed to love me most, I need you to do something for me. If this story resonates with you, if you've ever felt invisible to the people who should see you most clearly, hit that like button. Subscribe to hear more stories about people who refuse to stay victims, and comment below to let me know you're here with me. Your support means everything. Now let me take you back to where it all began. 6 months before that terrible night, I was living in a cramped studio apartment on the south side of Chicago with my 4-year-old daughter Lily. The radiator barely worked and I could see my breath most mornings, but it was ours. I worked 2 jobs. During the day, I was a receptionist at a dental office, answering phones and scheduling appointments with a smile even when my feet ached. At night, 3 times a week, I cleaned offices downtown. The work was exhausting, but every dollar went into an envelope hidden in my closet, labelled in my messy handwriting as Lily's future. My parents lived less than 3 miles away in a completely different world. Richard and Eleanor Hayes occupied a sprawling mansion in one of Chicago's most exclusive suburbs, the kind of place with a circular driveway, stone lions flanking the entrance, and a gardener who came twice a week. My father ran a successful commercial real estate company. My mother was climbing the political ladder, positioning herself for a city council seat with ambitions that reached far beyond. I had not always been estranged from their wealth. Growing up, I was the family disappointment, the daughter who got pregnant at 19 by a man who vanished the moment he heard the word baby. My parents made it clear what they thought of my choices. My mother's words still burned in my memory from the day I told them I was keeping Lily. Eleanor had been arranging flowers in the foyer, white orchids that probably cost more than my monthly rent. She did not even look at me when she spoke. Getting rid of it would be the responsible choice, Sarah. Think about our reputation. Think about your sister, my sister. Tiffany was their golden child, 3 years younger than me, but light years ahead in their eyes. She was beautiful in that effortless way that seemed to require tremendous effort, with highlighted hair that cost hundreds to maintain, and a social media following that she treated like a full-time career. She was an influencer. She would correct anyone who called it anything else specializing in luxury lifestyle content. Her Instagram was a carefully curated fantasy of designer handbags, champagne brunches, and motivational quotes about manifesting abundance. All of it funded by our parents. The contrast between us could not have been starker. While Tiffany posted photos of her morning matcha in crystal glasses, I was reheating coffee from the day before in a chipped mug. While she attended charity galas in borrowed jewellery, I was clipping coupons and calculating whether I could afford the name brand diapers, or if store brand would have to do again. But I had made peace with it, or so I told myself. I chose my path when I chose Lily, and I would not trade her for anything. My daughter was smart and funny and kind, with my dark hair, and a laugh that made even the longest days worthwhile. When she drew pictures of our family, it was always just the 2 of us holding hands under a smiling sun. She never asked why Grandma and Grandpa were not in the picture. She had learned early that some questions led to answers that hurt. The last time I had asked my parents for help was 2 years earlier, when Lily needed tubes in her ears, and my insurance would not cover the full cost. I had rehearsed what I would say for days, had practiced keeping my voice steady. I only needed to borrow $1,200. I would pay them back, I promised. $50 a month if that was all I could manage. My father had laughed. Actually laughed. We didn't invest in you so you could throw your life away, he had said, leaning back in his leather office chair. You made your bed, sweetheart. Now you get to lie in it. I had sold my car instead, the beat-up Honda Civic that barely ran, but got me where I needed to go. I took the bus after that, adding an hour to each commute, but Lily got her surgery. So on that December night, I was not thinking about my parents at all as I walked home from my cleaning job. It was nearly midnight, and the snow was coming down in thick, heavy flakes that muffled the sound of the city. I had missed the last bus by 3 minutes, standing at the stop and watching it pull away with my breath fogging in the cold air. The next one would not come for another hour, and waiting in that weather seemed more dangerous than walking. I had called my neighbour, Mrs. Chen, to check on Lily. The elderly woman often babysat for me, refusing payment and insisting that Lily was good company. "She's sleeping like an angel," Mrs. Chen had whispered into the phone. "You take your time, dear. Be safe." I remember thinking that I would be home in 40 minutes if I walked quickly. I remember the way my cheap boots crunched in the fresh snow. I remember being grateful that I had worn my thicker coat, even though it made me look bulky and shapeless. I remember none of it mattering. The car came out of nowhere. One moment I was crossing a residential street, the intersection quiet and empty. The next moment there was the roar of an engine, blindingly bright headlights, and a force that seemed to come from nowhere sweeping me off the ground, as if I weighed nothing at all. Time slowed in that strange way it does during moments of crisis. I watched the snowflakes drift past my eyes as I flew through the air, almost peaceful, before gravity brought me back down hard against the frozen street. The car did not stop. I caught a glimpse of it as my vision swam a sleek silver sports car with tinted windows fishtailing slightly as it accelerated away into the storm. The license plate was obscured by snow and darkness. Then it was gone, leaving me alone on the frozen street. I tried to move and immediately knew something was very wrong. My right leg refused to cooperate. I did not want to look down, but I did anyway. The dark stain spreading across my jeans told me everything I needed to know. My phone had been in my hand when I was hit. Now it lay several feet away on the white snow, the screen dark and lifeless, as broken as I felt. The street was empty. The houses around me were dark, their occupants asleep and unaware. The snow continued to fall already, beginning to cover the blood on the pavement. I tried to call out for help, but my voice came out as a weak rasp swallowed immediately by the wind. That is when I saw it. Through the curtain of snow, maybe 200 metres down the street, I could see lights. Lots of lights. The warm golden glow of my parents' house, every window blazing cars, lining their circular driveway, even at this late hour. They were having one of their parties, I realised. My mother's fundraiser for her campaign. I had seen the invitation weeks ago, forwarded to me by mistake when Tiffany was updating her contact list. "You are not on the guest list," obviously, my sister had texted afterward. "Just ignore that." I had ignored it, but now lying broken in the snow with hypothermia creeping into my bones and my daughter waiting at home, those lights looked like salvation. I started to crawl. Every movement was agony, dragging my shattered leg behind me, using my elbows to pull myself forward through the snow. My hands went numb almost immediately, but I kept going. Lily was waiting for me. Lily needed her mother to come home. 200 metres might as well have been 200 miles. The snow was getting heavier, my blood leaving a trail behind me that was quickly being covered. I lost track of time. It could have been 10 minutes or an hour when I finally reached their property. The sounds of the party filtered out into the night, classical music and cultured laughter. I could smell expensive food, that distinctive aroma of catered hors d'oeuvres that cost more per bite than my weekly grocery budget. I made it to the back of the house, to the kitchen door with its floor-to-ceiling windows. I chose that entrance deliberately, not wanting to be seen by the guests, wanting to minimise the embarrassment for my parents. Even in my delirium, I was trying to protect their reputation. I raised my frozen hand and knocked on the glass, then harder. Then I was pounding with both fists, leaving smears of blood and snow across the pristine surface. Inside, I could see the gleaming marble countertops, the crystal wine glasses lined up on the island, the elaborate flower arrangements. The kitchen door opened and I nearly sobbed with relief. My mother stood there in a cream-coloured cocktail dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent diamonds glittering at her throat. For a moment we just stared at each other. I saw her eyes travel from my face to my leg, saw her expression change, and I actually thought she was going to help me. "What the hell are you doing here?" Eleanor's voice was not concerned. It was angry. "You look like trash, Sarah. I have very important people in my home right now." "Mum," I managed to gasp out. "I was hit by a car. Please, I need you to call 911. My leg, I think it's broken. Please help me." She looked down at where my blood was starting to drip onto their imported Italian tile, and her face twisted in disgust. "You are getting blood on my floor. Do you have any idea how much that tile costs?" I thought I had misheard. I thought the pain was making me hallucinate. "Mum, please, I just need you to make a phone call. Please, I'm begging you." That is when Tiffany appeared behind her phone already in hand. For a split second, I felt hope. My little sister would help me. But she was not dialing 911. She was opening her Instagram, switching to her stories, angling the camera at my face. "Oh my God, you guys!" Tiffany's voice took on that bright, performative quality she used for her followers. "You are not going to believe this. There is literally a homeless person trying to break into my parents' house right now during their party. This is insane. Look at this." She stepped closer, zooming in on my face, on the blood, on my obvious pain. I saw myself on her screen, saw how I must look to her thousands of followers, a desperate broken thing bleeding on a pristine doorstep. "Tiffany," I whispered, "it is me, it is Sarah, please." "I know exactly who you are," she said, still filming. "And you are not supposed to be here. You were not invited. This is so embarrassing. Trying to crash Mom's event looking like that desperate much." I heard movement behind them and my father appeared, his face red from expensive wine and irritation at the disturbance. He took one look at me and his expression hardened into something I had seen before, but never quite this cold. "Get away from my door!" Richard's voice was flat and final. "You are getting blood everywhere. That is custom oak, Sarah. Do you have any idea what that costs to replace?" "I am your daughter," I said, and I hated how my voice broke. "Please, I was hit by a car. I just need help. Please, I am begging you, call an ambulance. Do not let me die out here." My mother laughed. It was not a hysterical laugh or a nervous laugh. It was a laugh of genuine disdain. "You are not going to die from a broken leg, Sarah. Stop being so dramatic. This is clearly just another one of your schemes to get money from us." "I do not want money," I sobbed. "I just want help, please. Think about Lily. She is waiting for me at home. She needs her mother." "That child was your choice," my father said, "and she is your problem. Now get off my property before I call the police and have you arrested for trespassing." Tiffany was still filming, adding text overlays, probably choosing the perfect filter. She took a close-up photo of my face twisted in pain and wet with tears and snow. I watched her type a caption. When trash tries to climb above its station, she wrote adding hashtags. #loser, #pathetic, #know your place. She posted it. Right there while I bled on their doorstep, she posted a photo of my suffering to her 50,000 followers and then smiled at how quickly the likes started rolling in. "Mum," I tried one more time, my voice barely a whisper now. "Please, I am freezing. I cannot feel my hands. Please do not do this." Eleanor stepped back into the house. "You should have thought about that before you embarrassed us. Before you decided to throw away every advantage we gave you. You made your choices, Sarah. These are the consequences." My father's expensive leather shoe connected with my hand, kicking it away from the doorframe where I had been trying to hold on. "Do not get your blood on my door," he said. "Go die somewhere else if that is what you are planning. Just not here, not on my property." Then they closed the door. I heard the lock click. Through the glass, I watched them walk back toward the sound of the party, watched my mother smooth her dress and paste on a smile, watched Tiffany check her phone to see the engagement on her post. The curtains drew closed, blocking out the light, and I was left in the darkness and the snow. I do not remember much after that. I remember the cold becoming almost warm, which I knew from a nature documentary I watched with Lily meant I was in serious trouble. I remember thinking about my daughter waking up and wondering where I was. I remember the snow covering me like a blanket and how easy it would be to just close my eyes. The delivery driver who found me told me later that he almost did not see me. I was mostly covered in snow by then, just a dark shape against the white. He had been dropping off a late order to a house 2 doors down and had taken a shortcut through the side yard. If he had taken the front path like he usually did, I would have died there. His name was Marcus, a college student working nights to pay tuition. He called 911 immediately, gave me his coat, stayed with me until the ambulance arrived. He probably saved my life, this stranger who owed me nothing, while my own family had stepped over me to get back to their champagne. I woke up in the hospital 3 days later. My leg had required surgery pins and plates to put it back together. I had severe frostbite on my hands and feet. I had lost 2 toes that the doctors could not save. But I was alive. The first face I saw was Mrs. Chen sitting in the chair beside my bed with Lily asleep in her lap. "Oh, thank God," the old woman whispered when she saw my eyes open. "I was so worried. Lily has been so brave." My daughter stirred, and when she saw I was awake, she scrambled onto the bed, despite Mrs. Chen's gentle protests to be careful. Mummy Lily's small arms wrapped around my neck. "You were gone so long. I missed you." I held her as tightly as I could with IV lines tangling around us, breathing in the strawberry scent of her shampoo, feeling her warm and solid and real against me. "I am sorry, baby. I am so sorry. But I am here now. I am not going anywhere." "The police had come while I was unconscious," Mrs. Chen explained quietly. "They were looking for information about the hit and run. They had found me 2 blocks from my parents' house and wanted to know if I had been visiting them, if they might have seen something. I told them no. I lied to the officer when he came back later that afternoon. I was just walking through the neighbourhood. I do not know my parents' schedule. Why did I protect them? I've asked myself that question 1,000 times. Maybe it was habit years of covering for their neglect. Maybe it was shame not wanting to admit that my own parents had left me to die. Maybe it was fear of what they might do if I told the truth. That fear became reality 2 days later when my mother walked into my hospital room. She did not bring flowers or concern. She brought a thick envelope that she threw onto my lap. "There is $500 in there," Eleanor said without preamble. "Take it and keep your mouth shut about coming to our house." I stared at the envelope like it was a snake. "What?" "You heard me." She moved closer, her voice dropping to a vicious whisper, even though we were alone. "If you tell anyone that you came to our house that night, if you even think about dragging us into your pathetic drama, I will destroy you. I will tell the police you were trespassing. I will call Child Protective Services and tell them you are an unfit mother who left her child alone while you were out God knows where. I will make sure they take that little girl away from you so fast your head will spin. Do you understand me?" My hands were shaking, making the envelope rustle. "You would not." "Try me." My mother's smile was cruel. "You have no money, Sarah. You have no resources. You live in a slum with my granddaughter. How hard do you think it would be to convince a judge that she would be better off in foster care, or better yet with us, where we can raise her properly, the way you should have been raised if you had not been such a disappointment?" The threat was clear, my silence for my daughter. I looked at the envelope at the money that could not begin to cover my medical bills that was meant as hush money, as payment for my compliance and my continued invisibility. "Get out," I said quietly. Smart girl Eleanor turned to leave. "Remember what I said? You do not have our money anymore, Sarah. You do not have our protection. All you have is that child, and if you want to keep her, you will stay far away from us and keep your mouth shut." After she left, I sat in that hospital bed holding the envelope and shaking with something that was not fear anymore. It was rage. Pure crystalline rage that burned away the years of hoping they would love me, of trying to be good enough, of making excuses for their cruelty. I was still sitting like that when Jack Morrison walked into my room an hour later. I had never met Jack before that day. He was a corporate lawyer who had gone to law school with my father decades ago, before they had a falling out over something I never knew the details of. He was in his 50s, with grey hair and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, and he was holding his phone with my sister's Instagram post on the screen. "Sarah Hayes," he asked, and when I nodded, he pulled up a chair. "I need to talk to you about what happened the night you were injured, and I need you to tell me the truth." Something about his directness, his lack of preamble or false sympathy, made me trust him. Or maybe I was just tired of protecting people who had never protected me. So I told him everything. The accident, the crawl to my parents' house, their reaction, my mother's threats, all of it. Jack listened without interrupting, occasionally making notes on his phone. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "Your sister deleted that Instagram post within an hour of putting it up," he finally said. "But the internet is forever. Several people had already screenshot it and saved the video. The caption, the mockery, all of it is documented. Plus one of your parents' neighbours has a security camera that covers part of their property. I took the liberty of asking them for the footage. They were happy to share it when I explained the situation." He showed me the video on his phone. It was grainy and shot from an angle, but it clearly showed me crawling up to the back door, showed my parents and sister in the doorway, showed my father kicking my hand away. The camera had no audio, but it did not need it. The body language told the story clearly enough. In Illinois, there is no general duty to rescue someone, Jack continued. But what your parents did goes beyond simple inaction. They had a familial relationship with you. They had the means and ability to help with no risk to themselves. Their deliberate choice to leave you in life-threatening conditions, combined with the documented mockery and threats afterward, opens them up to both criminal and civil liability. I do not want to press charges, I said immediately. I just want them to leave me alone. Jack leaned forward. Sarah, I do not think you understand. Your mother is running for city council. Your father's business depends on his reputation. Your sister makes her living from her image. What they did to you, what they said to you, the evidence we have, this would destroy them. Good, the word came out before I could stop it, surprising both of us with its vehemence. Jack smiled, and it was not a kind smile. It was the smile of someone who had been waiting a long time for a chance at revenge. Then let me help you. Pro bono. I have some scores to settle with your father, and I am very, very good at my job. Over the next week, Jack laid out his strategy. We would not just sue for damages. We would systematically dismantle everything my family had built their lives on. Their reputation, their business, their social standing. We would make sure the entire city knew exactly what kind of people Richard and Eleanor Hayes really were. But first we needed more evidence. We needed them to incriminate themselves further. Jack's plan was simple, but required me to do something terrifying. I had to agree to meet with my parents, wear a wire, and get them to repeat their threats on tape. Illinois was a two-party consent state for recording, but there were exceptions for documenting criminal activity, and my mother's threat to falsely report me to CPS qualified. I practiced with Jack for hours. He coached me on how to stay calm, how to ask leading questions, how to get them to be explicit about their intentions. The wire was so small I could barely feel it hidden under my clothes. My mother suggested meeting at the house. She wanted to keep up appearances, wanted to make it clear that this was her territory. That worked perfectly for Jack's purposes. The same neighbour with the security camera was more than happy to angle it to capture the back entrance where we would meet. I brought Lily to Mrs. Chen's first. I did not want my daughter anywhere near that house, anywhere near those people. Then Jack drove me to the mansion parked down the street and checked the recording equipment one last time. You do not have to do this, he said. We have enough for a solid case already. But I wanted to do it. I needed to hear them say it again, needed confirmation that I had not imagined their cruelty. Needed proof that my years of hoping for their love had been wasted on people incapable of giving it. Eleanor answered the door herself. She looked me up and down, taking in my crutches and the medical boot on my leg. You look terrible, was her greeting. We met in the kitchen, the same room where I had bled on their tile. My father and Tiffany were already there, a united front of disdain. So my father said settling into a chair like this was a business meeting. What is it going to take to make you go away permanently? I just want to understand, I said, following Jack's script. You are really threatening to take my daughter away from me, your own granddaughter. She is not my granddaughter, Eleanor snapped. She is the bastard child of a daughter who embarrassed us. And yes, Sarah, I will absolutely call CPS if you breathe one word about coming here that night. I will tell them you are unstable, that you leave Lily alone for hours, that you are using drugs, whatever it takes. That seems extreme, I said, keeping my voice steady. I was just asking for help. You were asking to ruin my campaign, my mother hissed. Do you know how the press would spin this heartless politician ignores injured daughter? I have worked too hard to let you destroy this for me. We told you to go away, Tiffany added, examining her manicured nails. It is not our fault you are too stupid to take a hint. Besides, that post got me almost 15,000 new followers. Best engagement I have had in months. You posted that photo to mock me while I was bleeding, I said, and I could not keep the anger out of my voice. Oh, please, Tiffany rolled her eyes. You looked pathetic. You were pathetic. You still are. At least my followers got entertainment out of your misery. That is enough, my father cut in. Here is what is going to happen, Sarah. You are going to take the money we gave you. You are going to forget you ever came here, and you are going to stay away from this family. In return, we will not destroy what little life you have left. And if I refuse, I asked. Then you lose everything, Eleanor said coldly. Your daughter, your apartment, any shred of dignity you might have. I know people, Sarah. Judges, social workers, police officers. I will bury you so deep you will never see daylight again. Do you understand you are nothing? You always have been nothing. And I would rather see you dead in a gutter than let you drag this family down with you. Even I told her to just let you die out there in the snow, my father added. Would have been cleaner that way. But Eleanor wanted to at least try to control the narrative first. The room went silent. I stared at my father at the casual way he had just admitted he would have preferred me dead. Crystal clear, I said quietly. I understand perfectly. I left after that, climbed back into Jack's car and played him the recording. We sat in silence as he listened to my family systematically threaten and degrade me, their voices clear and damning. When it finished, Jack looked at me. You okay? I am better than okay, I said, and I meant it. Because now I know exactly who they are. No more doubts, no more hoping, just clarity. Jack's plan went into motion the next day. He filed a civil suit for damages, emotional distress, intentional infliction of harm and abandonment. The filing was public record, which meant the press could access it. Jack made sure they knew it was there. But that was just the opening move. The real attack came 3 days later, on the evening of my mother's biggest campaign event. She was hosting a town hall, her chance to show Chicago what kind of leader she could be. Jack had timed everything perfectly. 2 hours before the event started, Jack released everything to the media. The neighbours' security footage of my parents turning me away, the screenshots of Tiffany's deleted Instagram post with her mocking caption, and the audio recording of our final meeting where they threatened to take my child and admitted they wished I had died. The story went viral so fast it was like watching a wildfire spread. Within an hour, #MonsterParents was trending nationally. Within 2 hours, every major Chicago news station was running the story. Within 3 hours, protesters had gathered outside my mother's town hall with signs calling her a disgrace. I watched it all from my apartment, Lily asleep in my lap, my phone lighting up with news alerts. Jack called me every 30 minutes with updates. Your father's company is getting review bombed, he said gleefully. His partners are distancing themselves. 3 major clients have already cancelled contracts. An hour later, he called again. Your mother just cancelled the town hall. She tried to sneak out the back, but someone threw eggs at her car. Then just before midnight, the call I had been waiting for. The police just arrested your father. They are charging him with reckless endangerment and criminal neglect. Your mother is being questioned now. The next morning I woke up to find that Tiffany's Instagram account had been permanently banned after thousands of people reported it. Her sponsors had dropped her. The comments on her last few posts before the ban were brutal people, calling her a sociopath, a monster telling her she deserved everything coming to her. She posted a tearful apology video on YouTube that only made things worse. People saw through it immediately, saw it for the self-serving performance it was. The like-to-dislike ratio was devastating. Her comments were disabled, but the message was clear. She was cancelled in the truest sense of the word. The trial took 8 months. My parents tried everything. They hired expensive lawyers who argued that the recording was inadmissible, that the security footage was too grainy, that I was a vindictive daughter with a grudge. None of it worked. Jack was methodical and merciless. He brought Marcus, the delivery driver who saved me, to testify about the condition he found me in. He brought medical experts to explain how close I came to dying. He brought Mrs. Chen to talk about Lily asking every day when Mommy was coming home. And he brought the receipts. Every text message my mother had sent over the years criticising my choices. Every email my father had written explaining why they would not help with Lily's expenses. Every public post Tiffany had made about her perfect family that conspicuously left me out. He painted a picture of systematic rejection of parents who had emotionally and financially abandoned their daughter long before that snowy night, and then tried to finish the job by leaving me to freeze. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours, guilty on all counts. The judge was a woman in her 60s who reminded me of Mrs. Chen. She looked at my parents with undisguised contempt when she read the verdict. The civil trial was even faster. The jury awarded me $5 million in compensatory and punitive damages. My father went pale when the number was read. My mother actually gasped. It was more than they could pay without liquidating almost everything. The mansion went up for sale within a month. I drove past it once, saw the for sale sign and the lawn already starting to look unkempt without the regular gardener. It sold for less than asking price, the scandal having tainted it in the eyes of potential buyers. My parents moved into a rental apartment in a neighbourhood not much better than mine. My father's business never recovered. My mother's political career was over before it began. Tiffany moved back in with them, unable to afford her own place without her influencer income. I used the money to get the best medical care available for my leg. I would always walk with a slight limp, and my missing toes ached when it got cold, but I was alive. I bought a small house with a yard where Lily could play. I set up a trust fund for her education. And I started a foundation to help single mothers in crisis, funding it with a portion of the settlement. The rest I invested wisely, following advice from a financial advisor Jack recommended. I quit both my jobs. I went back to school part-time to finish my degree. I spent my mornings with Lily, my afternoons studying, my evenings volunteering at the foundation. 1 year after that terrible night, I was sitting in my living room with Lily and Jack, who had become a friend as much as my lawyer. We were celebrating the foundation's first anniversary. We had helped 32 women in crisis, providing emergency funds, legal assistance and support. Lily was showing Jack a picture she had drawn, this one with 3 people under the sun. Me, her and Jack, who she had started calling Uncle Jack without anyone telling her to. "You did good, kid," Jack said quietly, looking at the drawing. "You took the worst thing that ever happened to you and turned it into something that helps people." I did not respond right away. I was watching the fire in the fireplace, the same kind of warm, comforting fire that had been burning in my parents' house while I froze on their doorstep. But this fire was mine. This warmth was mine. This family, small and chosen rather than biological, was mine. They were afraid I would get blood on their expensive floor, I finally said, so I took their floor, and their house, and their reputation, and I do not feel guilty about it for a second. Nor should you, Jack raised his glass. To justice, I echoed, clinking my glass against his. Lily looked up from her drawing. What is justice? I thought about how to explain it in a way a 5-year-old would understand. It is when people who do bad things have to face consequences, baby. It is when someone who has been hurt gets to be okay again. It is when the world balances itself out. Like in my books, Lily said thoughtfully, when the bad guys lose at the end. Exactly like that, I smiled. Except this is real life, and sometimes it takes longer and it is harder, but it can still happen. The truth is, I could have stayed silent. I could have taken my mother's money and her threats and disappeared. Part of me wanted to avoid the confrontation and the publicity and the pain of having to relive what happened over and over again in court. But I kept thinking about other daughters out there, other women being told they are worthless by the people who are supposed to love them. I kept thinking about Lily and what message my silence would send her about her own worth. So I fought. Not just for me, but for every person who has ever been made to feel less than who has ever been told to know their place, who has ever crawled through the snow begging for help only to have a door slammed in their face. And I won. Not just the legal battles, though those victories were sweet. I won back my sense of self-worth. I won the knowledge that I am a good mother, a strong person, someone worthy of basic human decency, even when I have nothing to offer in return. My parents taught me what I was not worth to them. That cold night on their doorstep was the last lesson they ever gave me. But it was Jack and Marcus and Mrs. Chen and all the strangers who showed me kindness when my own blood would not, who taught me what I was actually worth. Everything. I was worth everything. Sometimes I still see my family around the city. My father looks older, diminished somehow, his confidence gone along with his mansion. My mother avoids eye contact when we pass on the street, scurrying by like she is afraid I might speak to her. Tiffany got a job at a retail store, the kind of place she used to mock on her Instagram, selling the designer clothes she can no longer afford. I do not gloat when I see them. I do not even feel angry anymore. I just feel sorry for them in a distant way, sorry that they are so hollow inside that they cannot recognize love when it is right in front of them. Sorry that they sacrificed their daughter for material things that are already starting to fade and decay. But mostly I do not think about them at all. They lost their power over me the moment I stopped needing their approval, stopped hoping they would change, stopped making excuses for their behaviour. They made me crawl through the snow. They slammed a door in my face. They told me to die somewhere else, and I took everything from them in return: their money, their home, their reputation, their future. The best revenge is not living well despite what the saying claims. The best revenge is taking back everything that was stolen from you and building something beautiful from the wreckage. That is what I did. That is what I continue to do every single day. So here is what I want you to take from my story. If you are in a relationship, any relationship where you are made to feel worthless, where your pain is mocked, where your basic humanity is denied, know this. You are worth more than that. You deserve better than that. And you have more power than you think. Document everything. Find allies. Trust people who show you kindness, even if they are strangers. Do not protect people who would not protect you. And never ever let anyone convince you that asking for help makes you weak. I was at my lowest point, broken and bleeding in the snow. And I still found the strength to fight back. If I can do it, so can you. What about you? Have you ever had to cut ties with toxic family? Have you ever had to choose between your peace and keeping the peace? Drop a comment and let me know your story. Hit that like button if this resonated with you. Subscribe for more real stories about real people refusing to be victims. Your support means everything. And remember, you are not what they say you are. You are what you prove yourself to be. Stay strong out there.